Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm standing here with the veteran before their first game of the week. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, feeling very confident, very confident.
Well, you guys had a rough start, but you went 2-0 last week. Besides the roster changes, what went better within the team for you guys to make it better?
Sure, so besides the roster changes, the atmosphere overall within the team was getting a lot more confident as time went on anyway. We could see that we were doing better at earlier stages of the game, and we were understanding far more and more what we needed to do towards the mid-game. Obviously, stuff like Sjokz ended up bringing that more to the fore, and we were able to improve much faster. But generally, the atmosphere in the team was actually going well.
Okay, and can you tell me a bit more about Sjokz and, well, as we call it, the Sjokz effect? Because it seemed to be really effective. What does it bring to the team?
Sure, so Sjokz, there's a lot of people saying that Sjokz bringing like a huge element of shot calling or something like that to the team, but the main voices in the team of Smittyj and Sprattle are still like the main voices within the team, especially with the departure of Casual. And what Sjokz has is Sjokz actually has really good instincts about how to play towards tempo and stuff like this. And this is stuff everybody else on the team understood. So Sjokz wasn't like someone who came in and fundamentally changed everything. He's more like the final piece that completed the puzzle.
Well, it seems to be very effective for the moment. Last question for you. You will be facing Fnatic. Last time you beat them, but the team grew a bit since then and you went through some changes within your team. What will your players need to do this time to win once again?
Work on the things that we've been working on for the last weeks. We are much better now as an early mid-game team, so we don't necessarily have to rely on Fnatic doing the same things that we're used to them doing, for example, around Baron, etc. Though this is not stuff that I'm fully convinced that Fnatic have actually fixed on their team. So I'm very confident going into today. Well, good luck on that today, and thank you very much. Thank you. And now more about H2k and the Sjokz effect from Medic.
Thank you, Laure. A week ago, H2k sat firmly at the bottom of the EU LCS table. A team destined to lose, switching more players in a single split than some teams have in years. Cemented to last place, H2k looked truly like a team with no hopes of making playoffs. But last week, something changed. A savior appeared from the wreckage of the ninjas in pajamas, a hero in the jungle, dedicated to turning the tides for H2k. Let's talk about the Sjokz effect. Since the former Alliance man has joined H2k, we have seen a paradigm shift. Gone are the days of a team that simply did nothing in their games. Gone are the slow, drawn-out defeats that marred their early weeks. Sjokz has transformed H2k into a team that does shit. His proactive and intelligent early jungling has led to 300% increase in kills, a meteoric rise in the gold difference, and a meteoric rise in the towers they are taking. He's the facilitator and the enabler that H2k have always needed, and now we are beginning to see the fruits of his labors. Can H2k's deliverer continue to shake things up? That question will be answered today, but I, for one, trust in the second coming of Sjokz.
The second coming of Sjokz, more like third, fourth, fifth, but it is working for H2k. I can't believe you just did that, by the way. Just dropped.
You wanted to one-up you, that's why.
Yeah, that is
it's a competition
why.
now.
Well, in any case, H2k, they might have the Sjokz effect, but Fnatic, their opponents, they have the Caps effect, the Rekkles effect, and the sOAZ effect. The team is on a 5-game winning streak, and these players are honestly all stepping up.
Yeah, and I want to start with the Caps effect, of course. This is the man who deals the most damage from the mid lane. He's become the main carry on Fnatic. 2 games on Corki last week where he was an absolute monster in the late game. He's performing like one of the absolute best players in Europe, and I take that effect over the Sjokz effect for now.
Well, that effect, and then also in the bottom lane, the Rekkles effect. Rekkles, the legendary AD carry, who's really found his form, I would say, in the last couple of weeks. He's found more of a connection with Hylissang, and it's showing in his performance.
Oh, very strong laning phase. He talked a lot about it on the Euphoria podcast. Go check it out if you haven't. Where he talks about how the synergy is already there in the early game. And now, he's grouping with the team, he's playing more with Caps, so we have this duo carry setup between Rekkles and, of course, the Dane in the mid lane. I love it. I think what Fnatic are bringing there is the best in the league when it comes to a duo carry setup.
Oh, big words. Well, it is working. And finally, we have to talk about the sOAZ effect. Now, this one is a bit of a double-edged sword because sometimes very positive for the team, sometimes not so much.
Hey, there's some solo kills in here when he's on Ornn with TP, you know, Ignite and, you know, solo killing Oramne a few times this split. But the thing about sOAZ effect is he will give you something, and he will also take something from you. There will be moments where he's overextended and died, but according to him, it's always worth it. This one, he got a tower, and he did draw the entire team top lane, so he always applies pressure on the map that the other members can actually use. So I still think the sOAZ effect, while it's sometimes a little bit up and a little bit down, I like it. I think he's always doing something, and that has a lot of value.
Yeah, all these effects will be into play in this matchup. And G2, they just took down Rakan. But now, can Fnatic make a statement before their match of the week tomorrow? We will see, because that's what's up in the line as well. G2 just won, so Fnatic cannot be trapped in the Sjokz effect.
No, they have to win. But also, again, a team like Fnatic needs to beat H2k, despite what the changes has done for H2k here. But I'm just excited because I think this is going to be a much closer game than a lot of people expect.
Let's hope so. With all these players stepping up tonight, will be a big test for H2k's new jungler. But before we get to the casters, here's what Sjokz thinks about Fnatic's AD carry.
I think Rekkles is really like this type. He's the type that really wants to win. Like, it's his #1 priority in life is to be the best at what he's doing. So right now, his focus is all on League of Legends.
Because in a way, I've failed myself for more than 2 years now, and I'm not sure for how much longer I can take it.
Especially Rekkles, he will try his life to win, and if he just doesn't make it, he just feels like he fails himself. To be so successful, even winning Split as a player, to be winning the EU LCS, it's such a great feeling. Things can just suddenly go south, and you start losing games. You know you're actually really good at the game, like you have won before, but it just doesn't happen again. So you just try and try to get better and better, and you hope for the win again, but you can only try.
I mean, I've already kind of made my mind that if I don't start winning stuff now, then maybe I should consider doing something else.
Ooh, powerful stuff. Yeah, Fnatic, one more stepping stone on the road to try and take back the throne that they've been denied 4 times in a row, Vedius. On stage right now, we've not only got Fnatic, we've got H2k, but let's talk about Fnatic. On the blue side, it's not just Rekkles, the whole team is coming together around him. Caps, Broxah, sOAZ, Hylissang, they are certainly finding their footing, and 5 games in a row is not too bad.
No, it is certainly not. They love to extend it to 6 ahead of their match against G2 tomorrow, and Caps is another one of those players that you have to look at, who will be going up against Selfie and H2k on the other side of the Rift. They came off a great 2-0 week with their new players. We heard a lot from Medic about how a lot of that was Sjokz, but also the synergy that he seemed to develop with Selfie, the man in the middle lane. They had some great wombo combo performances. They seemed to be able to execute on their compositions much more confidently. And overall, I very much enjoyed watching this team play last week.
Yeah, now we get to see finally, is this a flash in the pan, or is this the H2k that is here to stay? It's going to be so hard to do up against Fnatic, but we heard the confidence out of Veteran. We have talked ad nauseum about how this team is starting to, find some footing themselves and learn about some of the things they needed to do that they weren't before, not executing in the early game, the mid game. We'll see if that all changes. We're loading up into picks and bans. And I think it's worth maybe reminding everybody what happened the last time these guys met up. There was a lot of unexpected things, and H2k managed to take that win.
Fnatic really struggled to close out the game last time around. They failed to play around the Baron, they delayed the game a little bit too long, and H2k's late game composition really did kick into effect. We saw things like the Kassadin, we saw the Vayne, we saw Sheriff showing off some fancy dance moves and getting some successful kills. Overall, it was a great win for H2k, but since then, they didn't really find anything up until last week.
But it has all started to turn in their favor, and pressure's on for both teams too. Picks and bans. We see a couple of mid laners taken away, the Zoe and the Galio away from Selfie, as well as a Camille, and a smattering of things from the H2k side. Tristana, Gangplank, Tom Kench all benched.
So Skarner going to be the priority.
All right.
We talked about it earlier in the day, Pyra. Over in North America, they've heavily been prioritizing it. And more recently, that same trend is starting to develop in Europe. The Predator changes, also some of the smaller rune changes as well, have just resulted in this champion becoming so much more successful. I'm looking forward to seeing how Broxah can make it work, as it is their first lock-in for the side of Fnatic.
It's going to be answered by H2k with an Azir for Selfie, and Sjokz locks in the Sejuani. You talked about the synergy these two are going to have. Some champions, solid for team fighting that they're going to need. Back over to Fnatic, 20 seconds to pick.
So pretty standard so far from H2k. Fnatic, Well, I think that they're going to look to lock in their bot lane relatively early. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Xayah.
Rakan!
I was just about to
You are the
say it.
prediction god. It's okay, Vedius. We know.
But I at least said they're going to look to lock in their bot lane. That's what they do. Fnatic want to guarantee the strong 2 versus 2, and H2k want to secure themselves a bit of a strong AD carry themselves.
Yeah, long arm of the law for Sheriff as he locks in the Caitlyn over to ban phase number 2. It'll be interesting to see what they target. sOAZ and Caps yet to pick their champions. I wonder if H2k focus on that mid lane. Haven't done it yet.
You would expect a lot of bans heading towards the middle part of the map. Ryze wouldn't be an unsurprising ban. They may even choose to ban away the Veigar away from Caps, considering that it may very well be in his champion pool. Galio already taken off the board from the side of Fnatic, so that's another option that's going to be unavailable for them.
Well, we'll see what Caps ends up getting his hands on. He's had a handful of unorthodox picks as well, but won't get his chance to pilot the Corki, as we said. Alistair banned away, so another support. The Ornn falls as well. We already saw some highlights earlier on. sOAZ getting some outplays on that in previous weeks. Under the tower. And it's back over to H2k.
I imagine that they're going to look to lock in their support right now. You could go for Alistair being banned away, Braum being banned away. Taric is a relatively safe support that you can lock in. But instead, they're actually going to prioritize a bit of a strong top lane. Again, remember, the thing about Azir and Gnar is you can't really play the 1-3-1. You're kind of forced into team fights. There was the Veigar that we were just talking about. Turns out that it is in Caps champ pool, and H2k didn't want to take it off the board. But by banning away the Ornn, they did suggest that they wanted to thoroughly pick the Gnar and say, listen, there are no good top laners left. You've got nothing left in the pool, but there is still one top laner that sOAZ, showing off the sOAZ effect, would not be afraid to... Ah, no!
Ruin the Vedi monologue. It's okay. He can still go nom nom nom. Now, Promisq is going to round this out by taking a leaf out of the Kasing book and lock in the Zilean.
All right, so what I love about Zilean paired with a lot of hyper carries is in the mid game, once you've got 2 to 3 items, you speed up your AD carry, they run down mid, they get like a massive headshot crit with the passive of Caitlyn or like an empowered crit from Tristana with a static shiv. And just like bang, instant damage. You chunk out a target and then you run back, right? And it's so effective at just gaining mid control that you can instantly have priority over that lane, and it makes setting up for Baron a lot easier. What we've got though is 2 pretty strong teamfight comps coming out from both these teams, and when you have similar comps going up against each other, it's all about execution. Who gets those early leads? Where can you find those advantages? And what can you do to set yourself up for success so that you're the one with the lead going into these fights?
Well, the track record would certainly favor Fnatic in this game right now, but we are seeing some different stuff. We wondered what Caps would lock in. He plays the Veigar. We finally get to see the Skarner coming out after it had been banned for a handful of games. So Fnatic trying a little razzle-dazzle, change things up a little bit as H2k tried to shut the playbook on them. But as you mentioned, strong team fighting on both sides. H2k looking to make it 2-0 on the split up against Fnatic. If they can shut down the streak for a team that has been struggling for so long, that would be the ultimate confidence builder. But Fnatic, that is one hell of a final boss to face.
Oh, it certainly is. Looking forward to this matchup. We get to see another Veigar. This is Caps' first Veigar of the split. He's got quite an assortment of champions. Looking forward to seeing how the start can do on the champion, alongside Rekkles and Hylissang, who have the lovers couple duo of Xayah and Rakan. I imagine they're going to look to build up a couple of leads towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, Rekkles and Hylissang have certainly been doing well, but we'll see what Sheriff and Promisq can bring. Remember, this is the same duo that, not the players, the champions, that managed that big pentakill. That was over on the Splice side, of course. But they're going to need more than just channeling Kabi and Kasing to take the win here. Fnatic, as stated, on a 5-game winning streak to come back in. Trying to bait things out around the side, no brush, but Promisq stepping in, knocked up by the Rupture. Immediately has Hylissang going in, flashes forward. We could be in for a real first blood in just shy of a minute. Cap starts off with a kill.
Oh, Fnatic find themselves first blood. Promisq, he wanted to just get a bit of vision down. He wanted to drop a ward over the wall, and Fnatic with a very effective punish. What is the probability of all 5 Fnatic members being in this?
Well, when it's Fnatic, very high. But yeah, this is already looking like a different game than we saw last time. This is the goal graph of that game where H2k turned fights, got back into it, and beat Fnatic. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, just like last time, Fnatic, they started off with a strong lead. things really started to go downhill for H2k, but then Fnatic made a couple of big mistakes around the Baron area, and they were very quickly punished.
Yes, indeed. Now, as I mentioned, things have definitely changed. In H2k, that's very apparent in the mid and in the jungle. They made a lot of swap-arounds. We saw last week, too, Sjokz and Selfie were really taking off.
You can see just from the kill participation how involved they were in so many of H2k's kills. 96.3% for Selfie. This guy was just so involved with everything, and a lot of the facilitation came from Sjokz. The duo seem to have a great performance, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they can do it again, as Rekkles and Hylissang really send a message in the 2 versus 2.
Yeah, talk about a deadly duo right now. Both the birds really punishing Promisq for his lack of flash. Giving up that first blood to the Veigar is certainly not going to help.
Now, we've talked a lot about some of the individual players, but we got to talk about the champions, Pyra, because we got a Skarner in the game, and this isn't anything new. We have seen Skarner in pro play here in Europe. We even saw it a couple of weeks ago, but it wasn't played properly. We saw a couple of poor performances. North America have much better demonstrated what you can do with the champion. And the reason why he is so popular is because his wave clear is really good, his skirmishing is really strong, but also that Predator keystone. It gives you so much mobility. You pair it up with something like the Ingenious Hunter that reduces the active cooldown of your items, and it reduces the cooldown of the Predator, which means that you have this ability to get this giant boost of movement speed. You can then add to the amount of burst that you have, and it basically just makes Skarner so much stronger. So be ready to watch a super fast Skarner running at the enemy team, and we're likely going to be seeing a lot of QSSs come out from the side of HG.
Yeah, I mean, when you force someone to build those items, it's definitely what you want to do, even if your own ultimate won't be quite as useful.
Now, one of the answers that H2k did come up with is the Zilean, because it is single target. You will be looking to just grab someone and drag them back in. But what Zilean's great at is bringing them back to life. The instant revival, very, very valuable. But also the speed up and slow down that he has on his E. Because when you think about it, if you see a Skarner very quickly running up to you, instant slow from the Zilean means that that's kind of not so scary anymore. Alternatively, the person that you're trying to chase after gets sped up, and you end up with this. I always forget his last name is Hill. Benny Hill.
Benny Hill, yeah. I was going to say Yakety Sack, same thing, right?
Both of them just running extremely quickly, and basically it becomes difficult to chase a target down. So I like the Zilean pick as an answer to the Skarner. How effective that'll be in practice, we're yet to see.
I mean, we'll see. Right now, all we've seen out of Promisq is giving up the earliest first blood and split so far, so I have hope that the improvement will come there. Of course, the bottom lane has been trading blows back and forth just a little bit. They've stabilized for certain. But the Skarner matchup is certainly going to be very, very interesting to kick things off. I want to see what Broxah is able to do with this in the early stages of the game. Talked about team fighting. Both teams are going to have a lot of it, but Fnatic, they do like to build themselves up these advantages and make sure that H2k can't really do anything else to them.
Now, it's quite surprising that after what was a great level 1 setup from Rekkles and Hylissang, even after getting first blood, Rekkles is actually down pretty significantly in terms of farm. Now, he will be able to close that gap a little bit from this minion wave. Just misses the cannon underneath the tower. Can't get there in time. But definitely not what Fnatic's bottom lane want. They want to be building leads in this 2v2, and you want to punish the Zilean before he gets level 6. I'd love to see Broxah make a play down towards the bottom side of the map and try and shut this Zilean down. Get Rekkles and Hylissang ahead, because in the early game, these two players are going to be two of the big individuals that you're going to rely on to try and snowball early leads.
Well, he is down in the bottom side. Promisq's here, and let's see if the return gank.
There it is.
Comes again. The Predator's on. A wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And immediate exhaust, though. Does get the stun out. Let's see. Hylissang can't quite get the knock up there, but Rekkles is still going to be able to poke in some damage as Hylissang picks the kill.
That's the gank we wanted to see. Broxah successfully pulls it off. Promisq still didn't have his flash available. Another kill goes over to in favor of Fnatic.
Yeah, 2 more seconds. The flash would have been up. That's a real Promisq QQ right there. 5.5 minutes, only 2 casualties, both of them on the H2k support. Fnatic have found an opening to try and punish here. We check back in with mid, Caps, even though he's pushed back under tower earlier on, stabilizing out with Selfie. Everything else pretty much standard here. Teleports burnt both up towards the top. sOAZ, I don't know if he's going to be fully showcasing the sOAZ effect this early on the Cho'Gath, though.
No, not yet, not yet. He is an enigma. The true power of the sOAZ effect can never really be fully understood by the mortal man. It can only truly be appreciated when you play against it. Many top laners say sOAZ, very obnoxious top laner to play against. He's often quite unpredictable in what he will do, And that is why no analyst can ever truly understand.
What's crazy is the results are always the same. He gets solo kills, and then he dies.
Yeah, definitely.
But the path to getting there is different every time.
So, such a challenging mind to understand, said sOAZ. But I'm always impressed by how, for such a veteran player, I believe he's been playing League of Legends now for like 7, maybe even 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
He still sits at the top of Europe. This guy really is a veteran in the scene. And we'll see how he does on the Cho'Gath. I was more excited for the Jace. Thought he would have a little bit more of a carry power, but he's doing his job here. He knows they need a front line. He knows they need a little bit more follow-up on the engage that Fnatic already have. And I think the pick makes sense, and it's very safe into the Gnar. Doing pretty well in terms of farm as well.
But you rarely identified it. This one flashy play is definitely going to be focused more on Caps and Rekkles. This is where the team finds their win conditions, and it was nice to see, courtesy of Broxah, Rekkles and Hylissang managing to punish. And speak of the devil, he's already back down once more to the bottom side. Sheriff and Promisq, you have to be careful here. No ultimates just yet. Oh, he's going wiggling. Oh, that's going to keep him slowed. Nicely played there by Sheriff and Promisq.
They read the play. Broxah.
That is a fast Scorpion, man.
Yeah, man. That's Predator for you. Only level 6, and he already has so much movement speed. That's why he's so effective at these early ganks as well. Broxah utilizing the early pressure that Skarner can provide. Looking forward to seeing what he goes for. Typically, you see the full tank Skarner in professional play, but if you have an early lead, Trinity Force could be the way, but it's very unlikely.
If you get all that excess gold, yeah, why not? But we talked a lot about Broxah this game. I want to flip it over to his opposite number 2, Sjokz. I mean, there's a big reason why H2k find themselves 2-0. It sounds like, yes, they've been building on a lot of these basics already, but he has been a masterful performer. I want to see what he does early and in the mid game, like Veteran was talking about, his instincts to try and make the play happen. Where can he make his impact be felt?
Well, on the Sejuani, I'm not expecting him to make a huge number of plays early on, but what I am expecting him to do is, in the mid-game, act as one of the big initiators. I think that those instincts are very valuable in terms of where he's expecting a jungler to gank. It'd be great to hear how he communicates with his team and says, hey guys, if I was Skarner right now, I'd look to gank this lane, I'd look to gank this lane. But hopefully we'll gain more insight as the game progresses. So far, a lot of farming happening in the early game. I'm a little surprised that Caps is doing so well in the farm department, because typically Veigar very used to getting pushed in the early game. And usually struggles against a champion like Azir that has so much wave clear, but Caps doing a great job of holding his own for the time being. Now swapping over to the cleanse with the Unsealed Spellbook. Like they're showing a little bit more respect to the possible Sjokz ganks that could be coming at this point in the game.
Interesting, trying to play an out clean. I was wondering before the game, we had one very crazy game to open the day. We had another extremely conservative game, but looks like we're gonna get a little mix of both. Sheriff, the quickness is on, and the Featherstorm as well, but he's not going down just yet. Promisq had the Chrono Shift on top of him, and that will be the end of the 2v2 play.
So Sheriff and Promisq didn't actually burn any summoners in that exchange, whereas Hylissang burned 2. I want to see Broxah now make his way towards the bot side, set up for a potential dive, but Sjokz is reading this, and he is making his way down bot as well. No TP available on Smittyj, just coming up for sOAZ.
Yep, could be in for a party in the bottom lane. Caps even slowly meandering his way down as well. Let's see if the setup is there. The dive could be on. Broxah coming around. Sjokz throws out the Glacial Prison under tower. That is a lot of damage, and Sjokz is going to start things off with a kill under Rekkles. H2k on the chase. Fnatic in full retreat.
Fantastic CC setup there from H2k. That was beautifully played. They knew that Rekkles didn't have the ultimate, did have the flash, but chose not to use it. And there was everything that you could need. So, watch how this happens. Sjokz in Fog of War. Can't be seen by Rekkles. He can't flash in time. Ulti into double bomb, into trap, means that H2k are able to pick up a nice and easy kill and secure their bot lane tower.
All praise the Sjokz effect, netting H2k their first kill of the game, netting him the first kill of the game as well. So, we'll see if that helps things out for the H2k bottom lane. Gold still in the favor of Fnatic. A lot of vision invested around this Dragon Pit, a lot of it on Fnatic, but both teams having a stake in it as well. I wonder if there'll be a scuffle around for the Infernal. It could be in for one of those scaling teamfight games, as you mentioned.
Already identified an Infernal, likely to be something that both teams prioritize in the early game. Caps trading back and forth with Selfie, gone for the very early Abyssal Mask. I think it makes sense on the Veigar for those extra bit of resistances, mana, and AP, everything that really you could want as a mid laner. Or the MR, rather, definitely extremely valuable as well.
A little bit for the Azir, too.
Poke from Azir.
Azir on the Merc Treads is going to be able to slide and glide a little faster. Hylissang and Rekkles are still pushing on this right now, but there is a lot going on up and above in the river. Caps flanked by Broxah, trying to keep the vision clear and away from H2k. So still a bit of a quieter game, but a few attempts on the bottom side. That's where the action has been, and expect it to be once more. Broxah and Predator boots, man. See if he can make his way into the bottom side. Hylissang waiting and baiting in this brush. He's not got his summoners yet, still burned them the last time they tried to make a play. Forced out Promisq's Chrono Shift already up. And it looks like it's going to be Dragon.
Broxah taking advantage of his passive. So much wave clear on the Dragon. Here it comes, crowd, get ready. Elation as the Infernal falls to Fnatic.
Fnatic are such a good team at taking these early objectives too. They have such good Dragon control compared to what H2k have been able to do. And yeah, the fans should be excited about that. What a beautiful take.
I mean, I've never been that hyped about a Dragon take, but credit to the
We should be, Vedius.
So Fnatic continuing with the pressure down the bottom lane. Double bombs used, but the mobility from Rakan means that Promisq will not be able to land it. Skarner now hanging around the middle lane. Cleanse is available. Now, some tweets have suggested that Cleanse can remove things like this, but
oh, really?
there is strong evidence. I'm not entirely sure who it's from. I've simply heard sources imply.
You learn something every day.
But just to clarify, Cleanse does not remove the Skarner ultimate. I really hope that's right now. I'm fairly confident, but I'm going to look like an idiot.
I thought you spent like 2 hours talking to Captain Flowers. You just learned everything about Skarner. Well, Fnatic knocked down tower number 1. Managed to get it in the bottom. A lot of relentless sieging as Sheriff and Promisq had to back away. So Fnatic trying to play this one out like clockwork, making sure that H2k can't really get too many edges in on this game. Small gold lead for them still, 13 minutes on the clock. Sjokz hops the wall to start off Shelly. Might be able to solo this one out, but it'll be a slow take.
Sjokz, though, picking up this objective, definitely going to be valuable. The question is, where will Fnatic look to rotate their bot lane? For now, they're actually just keeping pressure up on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, safe, you know. It's a decent bit of Fnatic vision right now, making sure that they won't get collapsed upon by H2k. They know where Sjokz is not, and that is down there, so they can kind of push with impunity, but I don't think you can do it forever against the likes of a Caitlyn, so they will back away at the end of it all. And the crowd gets excited once more as Sjokz misses a smite, but it's okay.
It's a bit of a slow game, Pyro, very much what we expected. I wanted to see a healthy lead developed from Fnatic down the bottom lane. They've successfully been able to do that. Rekkles and Hylissang, they've definitely made a couple of blunders, but for the most part, they've done what they want. They've gotten the early tower, and now they'll be moving up with sOAZ to secure the next outer tower. Veigar has been freely farming in the middle lane, so the scaling aspect going nicely for the side of Fnatic. But it all comes down to those late game fights. Remember, we talked about 2 comps that basically want to do the same thing. Likely to play around Baron, going to be a big objective, but then there's a Cho'Gath. His ulti, his Baron taking power is something you always have to respect.
It's the execution, that's what it comes down to. You mentioned it, now 2v2 back up towards the top. A little more pot shots on the tower for Fnatic. They brought Sjokz here as well, looking for a lane gank, and Broxah is not far behind for Fnatic. We could be in for a tussle. Pings on the tower. Let's see if they want to dive with the quickness. He gets a one-man knockup. Let's see if they have the damage. Looking for the Zilean, and Rekkles is the one who's going to get it. They've melted through 2. Down goes Sheriff. Sjokz finds himself isolated, and Broxah coming around for good measure, and good night, Sjokz. It's a double kill for Rekkles.
Very clean dive there from Fnatic. This time the follow-up CC was ready after Hylissang goes to the all-in. 3 very quick kills picked up for Fnatic, and they're going to secure themselves another tower.
Oh, that's going to start snowballing your gold lead right now, and they've also got the Infernal Dragon. Things are looking up for this Fnatic team. The gauntlet was thrown when G2 took down Rocket earlier today to keep their win streak going. Fnatic looking to do the same.
Well, Smittyj will be able to answer with H2k's first turret of the game, but the gold deficit is starting to mount. Fnatic, 3,500 gold in the lead, and it comes off the back of this dive. Well done that from Hylissang. Manages to land the double taunt into knockup. The follow-up knockup combined with the silence means that you cannot get the ulti out from the Zilean. And unfortunately, Sejuani just isn't tanky enough in the early game to really mitigate all this damage.
Well, hello. Promisq, insta-flash around, but Broxah pulling him back. Get impaled! And the Event Horizon keeps him locked up for Caps to polish him off like fish in a barrel.
Another pick goes in the favor of Fnatic. This squishy Zilean not working out so far if he becomes the target. He ends up losing his life, he loses his flash, and he adds another death to the scoreboard of H2k.
Yeah, good strategy from Fnatic. Simple. We kill the Zilean, and then we kill H2k.
That's basically the plan right now for Fnatic.
I can't chrono shift if he's dead.
Precisely that. Always love that logic. Now, obviously, we're a little bit early to start playing towards Baron, and I imagine that Fnatic will want to grab themselves that tier 1 in the mid, but Sjokz still has that Rift Herald in his inventory that I imagine he's going to use relatively soon. We'll see where he decides to invest it, as sOAZ is just going to act as wave clear duty now in the bottom lane.
Yeah, did exactly what he needed to. Wanted to point out earlier that he just kind of stayed on the aggro of the tower when they were pulling off the dive earlier on. He's healthy enough to do it. Just in the righteous glory of the Giant's Belt to round things out. As you rightly said, we thought about some flashy plays from him, but no, he locked the Cho'Gath, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. So is no stranger to dog champs.
Well, that's certainly not a surprise. Now, the Dragon is spawning in about 40 seconds. Mountain will be a nice objective to pick up for Fnatic. Fans cheering on in preparation of the Drake spawning soon.
They're getting riled up.
Favorite objective of the minimap.
That seems to be Fnatic's favorite objective so far, too. Easy peasy time taking it now. Maybe they'll go for a little more here. A lot of Fnatic members gathered around this tower. H2k no sums up. They can't defend it. Rift Herald has been summoned up towards the top, but Fnatic are more occupied by trying to take down tier 2 in the mid. They're accelerating this game here. Sheriff trying to dance around the event horizon, but he's just locked up inside the cage for a few more seconds. Sjokz looking to come in. Narrowly avoids that rupture, and Hylissang going in, looking for Smittyj. Do they have the damage? Featherstorm's going to be flying here. Not going to pull anyone back in, but Smittyj trying to make the play onto Caps. Ace in the hole, intercepted by sOAZ, and in comes Selfie. Misses on the Emperor's Divide, and Rekkles deletes him off the map. Promisq narrowly avoiding death, and Smittyj with a big Gnar. Seems like these are just second wind attempts here. Smittyj does find one, though. Looks for Hylissang. Fnatic starting to melt on those health bars, and Smitty might be able to help give them a consolation prize. Sheriff picking up a kill on sOAZ. It's 2 for 1.
So H2k are able to answer back with a bit of a team fight win of their own, but they lost so much in exchange. The tier 2 tower in the mid ended up dropping. But actually looking at this holistically, that Rift Herald did secure the tier 1 in the top lane. They should be able to get themselves the Mountain Drake as well. And getting a couple of those extra kills and shutdowns on the board, it's going to be favorable for this H2k roster. So overall, not that bad of a trade for H2k.
No, seriously, it looked dire for just a few moments, but they really were able to stack things up together. I thought it was over when Selfie went in and the Emperor's Divide didn't do, as much as you might have expected. We got to see that fight again and how it all unfolded.
So, keep track of the Azir in this fight. He is nowhere to be seen. Smittyj looks like he's going to get nuked right from the get-go, but they're just now forced to kite back Fnatic. The ulti not quite hitting its mark from Selfie. He had his cleanse up and he didn't use it. Unfortunately for him, wasn't able to get away from that one. And H2k able to just consistently chase down their opposition.
Yeah, it was the Sjokz and Smitty show. They managed to just keep stacking on the CC, giving Sheriff a couple of kills, and that was clutch. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, as you mentioned. And you can see the damage they were dealing in that last fight. Nicely played. So we're getting to the 20-minute mark right now, so H2k have a few things to show for it. Still in the gold hole, but they've got 2 towers out the back of it. They managed to get themselves a Mountain Drake off of that fight, so they're not too shabby.
Just to clarify, cleanse does not work on Impale.
Yep.
Just in case those didn't see.
Glad we know.
Yeah, just for clarification.
Do not trust what you read on the internet.
Yeah, do not trust everything. So, H2k now, feeling a little more confident. The gold deficit not that bad for them. They still have the scaling, as we love to talk about as casters, the easy fallback. They've got the late game.
That's another one.
The problem is their gold deficit means that it becomes harder to really move out on the map, which enables Fnatic to be a lot more proactive. So they can now edge towards the Baron. They can force H2k to come and face check it, and then the moment they come anywhere near, Predator, Righteous Glory,
2 of them
TP
even.
from sOAZ. Like, this is a fast Fnatic squad that's ready to catch targets out of position, and then they can look to force the objective themselves.
Uh-oh, Broxah could be in trouble while he was trying to play that minigame, but maybe it was all a bait right now as he pulls in Sjokz, who is tanking all the damage, including the ultimate out of Caps. He comes back up thanks to the chrono shift, but Fnatic aren't done yet. 3-man charm on the quickness as Hylissang is trying to lead the charge here, but Selfie untouched in the back. Sheriff hanging tough as he takes down Hylissang. sOAZ can't take the damage. It's a double kill over to the Caitlyn, and they're not done yet looking for Caps. He has no ultimate, but he did have a big burst to try and take down Selfie. Not enough damage at the end of the day. Fnatic lose 2 for 1.
H2k win out on another fight. Fnatic, they tried to force a pick onto Sjokz, but that is the value of the Zilean ulti, bringing a target back to life. Broxah took way more damage than he was really expecting to take. And keep your eyes on the backline of H2k. Sheriff is doing so much damage along with Selfie. sOAZ was supposed to be the target that got these targets knocked up and the rest could follow, but a good Caitlyn trap from Sheriff allows him to kite back, while Selfie just zones the other members away from the follower. Overall, great play from H2k to just use the jungle to their advantage and force Fnatic into these narrow choke points where both the Azir and the Caitlyn could just chunk through whoever was in front of them.
Yeah, solid team fighting on their home turf. Fnatic, got to be careful about how they engage when they don't know where everyone is at this point. Looked like an easy pick, not enough burst. The fact that Promisq had that chrono shift, this was the answer you were talking about. It's not just the speed, that ultimate is also very clutch. And Sjokz also just completes his Warmog's armor, so he'll be able to stay even healthier throughout some of these fights. And this is starting to remind me a little bit of the last time they met Vedius. H2k in a deficit, turning fights around.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And the thing is, Fnatic have a... Yeah, they don't have the fastest Baron, but they do have a good execution with the Cho'Gath, because Skarner does a lot of damage, Veigar, not so much.
Not yet, anyways.
Xayah will still hurt it a decent amount, but you compare that to like a Caitlyn and Azir, and that's a much faster Baron take. Now, we do see a bit more trading in the jungle. H2k want to control this Spire, because that's what gives a lot of the attack speed and value towards clearing out these this big objective. So as long as H2k control that, it mitigates Fnatic's Baron taking power.
He who controls the Spire controls the pit. Rekkles taking an ace in the hole. Pretty easily healed up, shielded up after the end of it all. Still, this Fnatic squad not been perfect in some of these fights, pushed their luck a little too far. However, they're still holding the lead here. Solid 3,000. H2k trying to hold on and try to find a few more towers of their own. If they can get the siege on, Sheriff on 2 items. We talk about the mid-game. Caitlyn is always not incredibly powerful, but as this game goes on, we've already seen him get some outplays when he's supposed to be weak. See what he can do once he gets even more powerful.
Broxah, I believe, doesn't have his Predator right now. When he gets it back up, I want to see him looking to try and find a pick. Any QSSs on the board? Not yet, so pick of the litter as to who he wants to focus in these fights. Now we can take a look at the current standings of the EU LCS Pro.
Yeah, remembering what's at stake here. Fnatic going up against G2 tomorrow, who took a win off of Rocket. Now they have started on this Baron in full vision. Can Sjokz be the hero? There is that big execution. Fnatic, they decided to peel off as the teleport was forced out from Smittyj. H2k sniffing around. Gnar's in the back of the pit. He's getting pumped up by the Baron spikes. He has to hop out, and Sjokz goes in, but the rest of the team was not there with him. This is getting a little chaotic here. He's going to get rooted up. Let's see. Flashing away. Fnatic not willing to fully commit to this one. H2k burn a few summoner spells, but they are still in the driver's seat to try and push down the mid.
Surprised H2k decided to just go back on the Baron. Maybe they could have baited Fnatic out, but the ulti from Sjokz was used. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough follow-up. The ulti, or rather the event horizon from Caps, zoning many members away, making it difficult for H2k to really find the engages that they want.
It does seem like H2k are winning these engages that Fnatic are starting, but not so much when they are the ones trying to force a play.
Very true. You got to remember that the great thing about Event Horizon is it stops people running into you, but when people are running away and you're trying to chase them, because the short range is actually not that great.
Yeah.
So H2k, when they're the ones disengaging, they can often take advantage of that fact, but the really big thing right now is the fact that Smittyj used his TP and sOAZ did not. So he can continue to sit on the bottom lane and keep pushing things, and H2k are kind of forced to do what Fnatic did, which is group up and use numbers advantage to try and force a play. And what you'll notice now is sOAZ, after pushing out the bottom wave, he's actually quite happy to group up with his team. And this is why H2k are now, they're actually making the correct decision. They shouldn't send Smittyj down to the bot to catch the wave. They'll just have to sacrifice it and keep as a 5-man so that they don't concede control and really the Baron itself.
Caps finds out Smittyj, traps him in the cage and dishes a little extra damage on top. But here comes Broxah, wiggling his way forward, stopped up by the bombs, but it will not stop Hylissang, forcing the flash out of Selfie and the cleanse to get out of harm's way. Fnatic wanted to pull the trigger, but H2k were quicker on the draw. Smittyj and Gnar form getting chased around by Caps, but it might be ring around the red. Sjokz, no, not going to go in for this one right now, but Caps is a little bit isolated. There's the event horizon, trapping him out. Extra damage on sOAZ. Sheriff's got to be careful here. He could be in some danger. Nets away. It's the 5-man siege in the mid already. Caps, Sheriff, inside the pit once again, forcing the flash out. That's a lot of damage as Smittyj goes a-hopping, but he doesn't find the wall. Let's see what H2k can do with this right now. They've got vision in the Baron pit.
Caps is very low. He does have the Unsealed Spellbook, so can swap over to the TP to rejoin the team. Looks like he is going to do that and TP into the middle lane alongside Hylissang. That's a lot of summoner spells unavailable. Will H2k go for the re-engage?
Let's see if they can do it. Didn't start off on that Baron. Looking for Broxah. Not enough damage, but he tries to get himself out of the way. Turning it around. Here's Hylissang with a big charm, but the rest of the team's already starting to melt. No Sheriff. He's going to follow incredibly on this one as Caps picks up a rampage kill onto Smittyj. sOAZ and the rest of Fnatic leading the charge down as H2k thought they had the fight, but they end up losing at least one member, and the game has been paused.
Two big frontliners ended up dropping in that last fight. Things looked pretty good for H2k, chasing down onto the Skarner, thinking that if they can kill him, they can continue on with the fight. But what ended up happening was Fnatic with the turnaround. The amount of damage this Veigar was able to throw out was immense. And that forced Fnatic to immediately, or that forced rather H2k to immediately disengage and run away from the fight. Resulted in a 1-for-1 in the end, but now you've got to remember that Fnatic, they're in a position to set up for the Baron. They still have the Cho'Gath ultimate, I believe, primed and ready for use.
Yeah, man, it's one-on-one, right? You don't have the smite for Fnatic, but you have the execution, as you mentioned. And
in fact, is it still on cooldown? I wasn't entirely
think it's
sure.
on cooldown, but it's hard to tell in the pause screen for sure. I mean, it's just a little chaotic in the moment because that was such a... It seemed like there was so much damage that H2k was able to dish, but Hylissang really started to turn things around there. And, you know, we're going to go ahead and take a look at how that fight actually unfolded before the pause came down again, because there was just so much happening.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's take a look, see how this happens. So Broxah, he has no vision in the pit. He expects them to engage upon him, so he's already disengaging, but the chasing power of Smittyj is too strong and he dies. But then look at the damage from Caps here. Great W onto Sheriff, followed up with the ulti to secure the kill onto Smittyj. He was pretty much the sole reason why they were able to turn that one around, and then you still have the consistent damage output from Rekkles to really just add to that extra bit. But really, landing that crucial ability, I believe it's called the Dark Matter, onto Sheriff was really the key turnaround that allowed Fnatic to win that fight.
Yeah, it was a big one, and this is kind of why when people talk about, all right, well, you spellbook, we don't see it as much anymore because it got nerfed, you get less CDR on it. Well, sometimes being able to swap out summoner spells in a hectic situation like that is invaluable. So, trading away his cleanse, of course, for that TP, allowing him to get back into it. So, League officials still investigating the nature of the pause on stage as we speak. But it's definitely a tense situation when we get back into this one. You know, 4v4, but Fnatic definitely the ones in the lead.
So, sounds like that the issue has been resolved. There was no major issue.
False alarm.
So
all right.
We're going to crack on with the game once all the players are good and ready to go. So just a very slight pause, not a big issue. Fortunately, we can continue. Makes me very happy. I always get nervous when teams pause after a team.
Well, last time with Fnatic it happened, we had the 5-man poof, and luckily not this time. Only one went poof, and that was thanks to Caps.
Yeah, so let's jump back into game, Pyra, just to give people a recap. It ended up being a 1-for-1 fight. Smittyj ended up dropping for H2k side. Broxah ended up dying for Fnatic side. Fnatic likely not going to commit to the Baron with no smite and no ulti on sOAZ. In fact, they're actually just going to keep up with the chase.
They might just be able to do it here. You can see Selfie narrowly avoiding getting killed, but he might be able to just get out of harm's way. Oh, so close. Thank Promisq for that speed boost. Fnatic zoning away H2k. Sheriff has gotten back to base. He's healed up. Fnatic aren't going to go for the Baron on this one.
Great sidestep there from Selfie as well. sOAZ going to add to the summoner spells that were burnt in this last exchange. Fortunately, Promisq, as you rightly identified, adding to the support of Selfie's survival. Now Fnatic looking to regain some vision around this Baron area. And I expect more team fights, Pyra, somewhere in the middle between our first two games of the day. Again, would highly recommend people go check out UL versus Splice if you want to see a bit of a back and forth, crazy, action-packed game.
Very scrappy.
And then if you want to see some very high-quality, clean League of Legends, G2 versus Rocket, very enjoyable game to watch. Now we see a bit of a back and forth. We see some good decisions in terms of map movements. We've seen a couple of good individual performances. And we're just going to start to see even more and more fights as the game progresses.
You mentioned a while ago, you know, the ability to negate some of these crazy CC-esque ultimates with QSSs, but the first QSS of the game is actually going to be bought by Rekkles here, as he gets it for his 4th item on the Tristana, or excuse me, on the Xayah. I'm just used to seeing Rekkles on Tristana. But he does have 3 items to contend with as well, so he's dishing out a lot of damage on top of it. Now this, of course, to stop The Glacial Prison from Sjokz, or potentially getting bombed on by Promisq.
And Sensor also has been picked up for Hylissang. Definitely not as scary as it was at Worlds. Received some pretty significant nerfs, but on the bright side, it's still pretty valuable to give to your allies. Gives them a bit of extra attack speed and a bit of extra on-hit damage is always nice to have.
Yeah, not as much of a must-buy. That was definitely one hell of a meta, Vedius.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, we've got a few interesting ones here. Oh, 5 members of H2k. Oh, Broxah wiggling away from the Glacial Prison. Teleport being forced now. sOAZ coming in. H2k 5 members strong, but they burned a couple of key engagement tools here. Let's see what Fnatic are going to make of it.
We need to keep an eye on the side lanes too, because it looks like that the top lane wave is pushing in favor of H2k. Bot lane pushing in favor of Fnatic. Fnatic might want to go deal with that top wave, but instead they might just look to force the Baron once again. We've seen in the past how this team has struggled to play around this objective. Ideally, they'd love to get the TP out from Smittyj as he moves towards the bot, so I'm expecting now Fnatic to just kick this one off, force it, make Smittyj join the fight so that they will not be at a TP disadvantage.
Gonna have to clear out the vision to make it happen, but look what Sjokz and Promisq are doing, waiting in the brush. sOAZ has his ultimate, Broxah has his smite. This one's going down very low. The teleport has been forced. Do Fnatic fully commit to this one? Event Horizon's coming down. There's the stun. Smittyj taking a lot of damage. Do H2k still have the chance to make it happen? Hylissang tried for the engagement. Looks like Caps is going to be deleting Smittyj at the map for a second time. Sjokz going in, but the team is not going to follow just yet. Resurrect coming up in just a few, but there might be nothing left to save of this fight. Only Sheriff and Promisq remaining. Fnatic cleaning up with only Hylissang going down.
Caps with another fantastic fight. The Veigar ultimate doing so much damage to the front line will secure the Baron for Fnatic along with the team fight win.
How about that for a primordial burst? 30 minutes on the clock now. Fnatic leading the charge. H2k, they tried to fight it out valiantly, but they just ran out of gas.
So again, keep your eyes on Caps and just watch where he uses his damage. His priority is just killing the front line and obliterated. This guy is no longer available. Instant 5 versus 4, and yes, while Fnatic are able, or rather, while H2k are able to shut down the support, it doesn't matter. He's not the main damage dealer. His initiation was already gone. His value in the team fight is no longer available, and that means that Fnatic can just focus the next target. They ulted down onto Sjokz. They knew that as long as the front line was out of the way and how effectively they're able to crush through it, the rest would surely follow.
And this is a large part of the reason why Fnatic finding themselves on the cusp of 6th victory in a row, if they can pull it off here. Because they just have been so well together. And you look at what G2 did in the last game against Rocket, you're looking at what Fnatic are doing right now, even with the mistakes they're making, just coming back and piling things on. That game tomorrow, with those two kings going up against one another, is looking even more spicy.
Looking forward to it, but right now Fnatic still have to close this one out. They've definitely had a couple of risky decisions in this game so far, and it feels like that even though Sheriff has completed the QSS, Broxah's only ever really interested in grabbing onto the front line, you know, moving the tank out of the way, chunking them out before the fight can really kick off and allowing Caps the easy execute. Now they have the Baron, they're grouping up towards the bot side. Sheriff has had a great game, but I don't know if he's going to be enough to stop this siege from Fnatic.
He's certainly trying. Now Fnatic aren't going to force the issue to keep the push going. Not into the line of Caitlyn traps. It does get cleared away. Fnatic are satisfied with the fact that they were able to get tower number 2 down bottom. H2k, the only tower they have remaining outside of their own base, is currently up top lane. It's 32 minutes in, though. We talked about later game, team fighting. Clearly an advantage for Fnatic, but this game is far from over yet.
Certainly is the case, but only 32.5 minutes in. 4 items have been finished now for Caps.
That's the scary thing.
On the Veigar. The Void Staff is really what makes it terrifying, because that magic resistance is really going to be less valuable. 999 AP on Veigar.
Holy moly, and then it switches over to the Azir, and you're like 318. Oh, wow, there's a difference.
I wonder if that will trigger or make people that have those pet peeves happy.
That is a very specific question.
It reminds me of when I fill up with fuel in the car and I always try to get like 999 rather than the full 0.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Yeah, I am. Anyway,
okay.
Fnatic continuing the siege in the top lane.
And they can make it happen here. Desperate attempt here. Caps immediately going to cleanse out the Ice Bola of Sjokz. Redemption coming in, keeping him healthy. They've already knocked down the tower before the traps even come in. Sheriff acing the hole, intercepted by sOAZ. H2k just a little slower on the draw right now. Rupture coming up, dodged by Selfie, and go the Sand Soldiers once again. They try to poke it down. But Fnatic hit and run operation. They have the damage to make it happen. They keep it going, and now it is only H2k's base that is remaining. 23 seconds still ticking on this Baron buff, and that's probably going to be it for Fnatic.
Yeah, it looks like that they'll just take the tier 2 towers for now. They will be able to get that tier 3 one towards the top side, but can't quite yet go for the inhibitor. So looks like we still got one more Baron left in this game, Pyra, as Fnatic return to wave clear duty. So looking at the overall performance, Fnatic, they did a great job of utilizing the early power of Xayah and Rakan in the bottom lane to get that early tower. Yes, Rekkles did end up getting picked off by a great ultimate from Sjokz, but once they got that bot lead, they transitioned it well around the rest of the map. Fnatic still showing signs that some of their team fights, not the most calculated. A little overextension from time to time, and H2k were pretty good at punishing them and outplaying them in a couple of team fights, to be honest. Sheriff being one of the big reasons for that. But unfortunately, that Baron fight was really the kicker that has snowballed this big lead in favor of Fnatic. 10,000 in the lead right now. And as you said, only the base left in their way of H2k to secure themselves another win and the 6-game win streak.
We have seen H2k be able to fight out on home turf when Fnatic tries to force the engages. But that was a while ago. That was when the gold lead was not nearly as huge as it is now. And as especially not when Caps is as huge as he is now. 6-0, 999 ability power. The dude is a monster, and it just goes to show you can try to ban him out. He'll find something to dominate you with every time.
Fantastic performance from him. Always love watching Caps. You would imagine that it must be pretty hard to be like a hard carry on Veigar, but then his positioning in these fights, the fact that he's landing so many great skill shots have been very enjoyable to watch.
And the team play has honestly been a big part of it too, right? We've criticized Fnatic in the past for, you know, not necessarily being exactly where they needed to be in the group, having people isolated on side lanes. That's of course changed. And this is what's made these fights so clean and solid to watch when Fnatic have been able to execute on them. Now they find themselves inside the jungle of H2k trying to clear things out, make sure that when that Baron pops up in a minute and a half, H2k will be completely blind in their own jungle.
Yeah, I believe every summoner spell is available, so it's going to be a bit of a chaotic fight. Many level 16s have been hit, except for Sjokz, still at that level 14. Support, unsurprisingly, underleveled as per usual. Looking at some of the items that have been finished as well. 3 items finished for the top laner of Smittyj. Completing that... How did I forget the name of it? The thing that reduces attack speed. It's a great armor item.
Yeah? Is it? Randuin's Omen?
Randuin's, that's the badge.
I was waiting for it. I was going to give you a fair chance to answer it. No, I wasn't secretly trying to remember myself.
Brain completely farted on that one.
Yeah, well, it happens sometimes. Well,
but yeah, he's also completed the QSS, which was the key thing that I was trying to get to. And that is going to be very valuable against Broxah, who really has just been focusing down on the front line. So I imagine the next fight, he's either going to try and grab Selfie or Sjokz. We'll see which target he decides to go for, but this Skarner, now that he's level 16, he's going to have a lot of movement speed, and he's going to have a lot of scary burst combined with the Predator.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I feel like it doesn't matter if Sjokz is this tanky because he's been deleted whenever he gets grabbed by Broxah.
I mean, his magic resistance is kind of low.
Yeah, especially considering, like, Caps, like, how much magic damage he's actually dishing out. I'm just hearing in my ears that Caps actually hit that big old 1,000 number right now, and we'll see if that's going to come to bear as they find the damage on to Sjokz. He's got the Resurrect coming in from... Never mind! Caps just deletes him a second time. He says that's just fine, and here we go. Looking for Selfie redemption, but I don't know if H2k will be redeemed. The Emperor's Divide divides absolutely nothing, and it's a shutdown. Rekkles trying to prove that he can make the plays too. A triple kill on the Xayah, and that might be it right now.
Beautiful team fight from Fnatic. Caps comes up big, and Rekkles does too. They have their eyes set on the Nexus, and they're going to go to a 7-0 win streak.
Fnatic, it is looking oh so good going into their game up against G2 Esports, but what a clean way to end it. Huge jobs by the carries. Broxah, sOAZ also doing exactly what they needed to, and now it's just a little bit of fun as they try to polish them off. That Primordial Burst getting the deletion. Fnatic extend the win streak. There is the ace. And Caps lets out a tiny cackle of evil as they wipe H2k off the map and crush this Nexus. They don't even need to worry about it anymore because they're keeping people from getting on in to even defend. They're just going for the dive. Here we go, one more time. There's the ace. Rekkles coming up with a kill. GG, boys. Fnatic locking it up.
Fnatic, 6-0 win streak.
I'm glad you corrected yourself. But they're not too far behind G2 Esports.
Not too far behind at all. And it just makes tomorrow matchup so much more exciting. A battle for the top of Europe. Vitality will be playing up next and will be looking to maintain that top of the leaderboard record. But Fnatic looking very, very strong. Kind of expected, kind of important for Fnatic as well to get a pretty strong win against H2k. We saw a couple of misplays, a couple of holes in the armor. You compare this performance to G2's and you could say that, well, G2 had the much cleaner, had the much more calculated play, but the team fighting from Fnatic, my word, these guys are just so good when it comes to grouping up and playing the 5v5.
Yeah, and there were some valiant attempts by H2k. And by no means was this the old H2k rolling over and dying. With the new life that's been infused in the team thanks to Sjokz and Selfie, we've seen them execute some really well played fights over and over again, but it just wasn't enough to take down the powerhouse that is Fnatic, and very deservedly, this Fnatic team stands up towards the top of the standings, and we'll find out tomorrow who is the #1 team in Europe.
Yep, definitely a big game to look forward to. Put it in your calendars, guys. G2 versus Fnatic is up tomorrow. 4th game of the day will be cast by the wonderful dynamic duo of Quickshot and Deficio as well. You couldn't really ask for more, everything.
I mean, it's the classic EU, right? What are you going to do, right?
So it's going to be a fantastic matchup. Commiserations to H2k. Still not a terrible performance from them. Sjokz had a couple of good early plays. Sheriff, really impressive team fights.
On this Caitlyn, I liked what they did, and despite the stumbles from Promisq early on, face checking the brush, trying to get himself the early vision, he placed the ultimates where he needed to in these team fights. The only issue was it didn't matter because Caps just deleted people twice.
It's literally like Caps would knock it out of the park once, and then the moment you think you get another opportunity, Caps just knocks it out of the park.
Oh,
again.
wait, you want me to go again?
Just
all right.
setting him up, and every single time he would just wipe people off the board. Fantastic play from him. Loved his ability to consistently land these skill shots, which are really challenging to land in these chaotic team fights. But reasons why we hype this man up so much, and reason why he is one of the big stars and carriers of this line.
Yeah, and Rekkles as well. I mean, he kind of came in at the very end. He's like, hey, I can get these kills too.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be able to make the big
impressive.
plays. But it wasn't just him, right? It was so much on the front line. sOAZ and Broxah really setting things up. And, you know, we're going to hear from Broxah in a little bit as well on this Skarner that finally made its way through. I know you were excited. Your eyes were just lighting up, and you were thinking like, okay, what did Flowers tell me? I know about this. No, I'm just kidding, man.
But yeah, exactly that. Was very much fun to watch, and Fnatic coming out with a convincing win today.
They certainly did. Now, Fnatic just secured their 6th win in a row. For more on how they did it, here's Laure with Broxah.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Indeed, I'm here with Broxah. Congratulations for your win today, and thank you for joining me, obviously. You played Skarner for the first time of the split. Can you explain to me what makes this pick strong at the moment?
I think Skarner is just a really good pick all around right now. He's really, really strong early game. Like, it's really hard for any jungler to contest him 1v1. And later, there's the big pressure of his ultimate. Like, whenever you see Skarner on enemy team, you're just so afraid all the time because he might just flash ult you and you're dead. There's no counterplay. So I think he's just really good all around. They've been playing him a lot in NA recently. So we started to try it ourselves and see how we did. And we've had a decent amount of success with it so far. So today we felt like it's time to try it on stage, and it went pretty well.
Yeah, it went pretty well. Let's have a bit of an overview about the match you're going to have tomorrow, because you're going to get against G2. I talked to Perks earlier about this matchup. Some people may say it's a preview of the final to come. What do you feel about that?
I hope he's right. I hope it will be us against G2 in the final. That would be really crazy. But yeah, like I'm really excited to play them. I think it's going to be a super tough match tomorrow because both of us are pretty much at our peaks right now. Like we both struggled in the beginning, and now we're making everything work. We're both looking strong, so I'm excited.
And a bit more focused on your role as a jungler, you'll be facing Jankos. What are your thoughts about him as a player at the moment?
I think Jankos is doing really well right now. He was struggling a bit in the first weeks, but right now he's looking really scary, and I think it's going to be a really tough but also really fun matchup. Like in the last year, it was usually really explosive when me and Jankos went up against each other because we were so aggressive, but now we're both kind of stuck on tanks, so it's not going to be as fun, but it's going to be cool to see how it goes.
Well, we'll see about that tomorrow. Congratulations again for your win today.
Thanks.
And we're going to take a short break, but right after, it's going to be Vitality versus Giants. Stay tuned.
Hylissang going in, flashes forward. We could be in for real. First blood. Coming around. Sjokz throws out the Glacial Prison under tower. That is a lot of damage. Broxah coming around for good measure. And good night, Sjokz. It's a double kill for Rekkles. As Hylissang is trying to lead the charge here, but Selfie untouched in the back. Sheriff hanging tough as he takes down Hylissang. sOAZ can't take the damage. It's a double kill. H2k still have the chance to make it happen. Hylissang trying for the engagement. Looks like Caps is going to be deleting Smittyj at the map for a second time. Sjokz going in with the team is not going to follow just yet. Resurrect coming up in just a few, but there might be nothing left to save of this fight. And here we go, looking for Selfie redemption, but I don't know if H2k will be redeemed. The Emperor is divides absolutely nothing, and it's a shutdown. Rekkles trying to prove that he can make the plays too. A triple kill up. This going for the dime. Here we go, one more time. There's the ace. Rekkles coming up with a kill. GG boys, Fnatic locking it up.